You mentioned a little bit there the speed of business in China. And I'd like to dig a little bit into how do you keep up with the speed of how fast things are changing here? Like, how do you keep up to date with what's happening in the market?
Yeah, I mean, we have a Chinese partners as well. Or one of the later co-founder that joined us is Chinese, so she's mainly in charge of really like monitoring the Chinese market. But me also, I try to get as many informations from the China market as I can. What is very important is to focus on the Chinese resources. And I mean, I can read Chinese, so I need to say that if you are able to really get the information from the Chinese media or the Chinese bloggers that are, I mean, let's say on marketing and new marketing strategies, there are Chinese bloggers that if you follow them, you can really get the hands-on, up-to-date information. If you work only with the English resources, that some of them are doing a good job in publishing the information related about the WeChat in English, it's a good resource to get informed, but it's usually too late to be like early enough in the field. So if you really want to keep up to date, you need to build your network of information sources, and to really keep up to date, I think they need to be in Chinese. Or you need to have somebody to work for you and help you to analyze the Chinese media and try to extract and prepare your reports that will include the newest developments on the market. So you need to do your business intelligence. You need to be continuously monitoring the competitors. We have had people that were doing this for us. Were like checking all the new apps in the App Store, monitoring what new apps are coming out, monitoring how many competitors, if they have any new features, like checking the best media channels on marketing, fashion, e-commerce, trying to figure out what is the new trend, what is the new tricks in marketing we can do, and so on. So it's very important to put this as one of the priorities.
How important would you say it is then to actually speak Chinese, or to be able to read Chinese, to have a good understanding of the language, and then also to understand the culture if you're going to be an entrepreneur or a business owner here in China?
I mean, I think that in case that your business will be somehow related also to Chinese consumers, so it means you not only manufacture in China and export to the US. Yeah, in that case, I know a lot of successful entrepreneurs that have a very good manufacturing base here, selling in the US. They don't speak Chinese and they are doing very well. On the other hand, actually, I just noticed, because I'm also founder of it's called Co-Founders Club Shenzhen. So we have a group of, I think, 30 foreign founders now, and we are meeting every month and we discuss all the topics. And I really can see that those entrepreneurs that are doing best in that group, they are all fluent in Chinese. Yeah, and they really understand the market. They have been here for years. Yeah, so I mean, these people really are able to consolidate the resources and to make their projects move forward. I'm really convinced that nowadays entrepreneurship is not just about the idea. It's about the ability to consolidate resources to make your project move forward. And this comes to media, comes to connections, comes to investors, comes to talent. And if you are in China, then you need to of course attract Chinese talent, work with Chinese media, convince Chinese investors, and so on. So it's very difficult it's very difficult to build these relationships without being able to fluently communicate in Chinese in China.
And then you mentioned there a piece about being on the ground here. It's another sort of idea I'd like to get your perspective on. Is it the same idea in terms of if your consumers are Chinese, then you need to be on the ground here, but if your consumers are maybe in the West, then you don't need to be? How do you see actually time here on the ground in terms of its significance or importance?
I mean, if you're manufacturing in China and consumers are abroad, I mean, I think you need to have some person here still. I mean, I have also, when I was with my previous company, we were very often working with some suppliers here, and I had to also go on the ground and check out the factory. And I can tell you that I mean, you need to really find somebody who has high standard of quality that is aligned with the quality standards in your target country, and that person needs to be there and need to push that standard. And if it's you or somebody that you can trust and who can put the standard in, it doesn't matter. Yeah? So I think for that kind of model, you don't need to be here yourself. It's enough if you find a person who understands the Western quality standard and is ready to push those suppliers to really reach those standards. When it comes, if your customers are here, I think you need to have a deeper understanding of the market. And unless you spend some time here, it will be very difficult for you to form a functional strategy to succeed without really like that experience in the field, understanding how the Chinese people think, what are their values, what is their behavior online, offline. I think you need to get a deeper insight into that to form strategy that makes sense.
So over the last 3.5 years growing Ulala, you've had to hire Chinese people, I assume. How many staff do you have at the moment?
I mean, like we have all in all, I think 30 people. Half of them is in Vietnam and half is here in China.
And so I'd love to know how you decided to hire those people. Like, what is your hiring process, and how do you find the right people for your business?
Cool. I mean, the first thing, we have our company core values. So I mean, the first part, we test the people for the core values. So for instance, we are focused on transparency. So we ask them testing questions that are specifically testing for that specific value in our company culture. So first is the culture fit, and we have a specific questions that we ask to test for those specific values and try to see if they are good fit. For instance, we also require people to be flexible, in terms of the work content and office hours as well. So we also of course have a testing questions asking them about, hey, I mean, you are in this role, but like you are asked to do something completely different, and we see how they react to these things. Yeah? So this is the culture value fit, and then we of course test for that specific role requirements. Yeah? I mean, for the IT department, we give them specific tasks to fulfill, and then we see how they perform on that specific practical task. Similar with marketing. Okay? I mean, when we testing for the marketing skills for the specific role, we will usually give them some assignment and let them perform the assignment so that we can see what is their competence level. Yeah. I mean, we have different rounds. We have first round is usually done by the HR. The next round is done by the manager responsible for the department, and then the last round, if it's important role, will be also one of the founders. Yeah. So this is basically our hiring process. How we find those people. I mean, when it comes to that, like the baseline or like the entry level positions, or let's say like some basic supervisor position, we usually use platforms like Lago that we have very good experience with, and also some other online platforms for job openings. When it comes to more senior level, I think it's different, because you can't usually find the senior people online. It's very difficult. So from our experience, it's usually goes through our own network, because I mean, we are still a startup. We can't pay them salaries as big international company, nor as Tencent next door. We also are not such an attractive name. In China, people from Tencent, you become the part of the Tencent mafia, and it can give you very good prospects for the future. We are different. We are a startup. We need to really offer them something different. And I think one of the key aspects to attract top talent in a startup company is your personal credit and your personal charisma, but also credit, because you need to have people that trust you and that they give you credit, because you will need them to introduce you people to join your team. So you need to reach out to your network, and you need to really have your personal credit to be able to attract that top talent. And it's not easy. So I think this is another reason why I think that you need to be here if you want to find the top talent, because unless you can pay them a lot of money, you will need to bring your personal credit in the game, and you need to build the relationships that will help you to find the right people.
One of the difficulties that I hear from a lot of entrepreneurs here is in keeping their good talent, because here in China there seems to be a lot of opportunities, and if they can find a higher salary somewhere else, they might jump ship. So what is it that you do in terms of making sure that you can keep the people that you want to keep, and how do you train them and help them learn on the job?
So I mean, at first, I think we are very cautious about people that are very focused on their salary. We make it very clear in the interview process. as well. Yeah. So I mean, like, we don't want people that care about the salary too much, because we know exactly what you say. It will be problem very soon later on. So even though if we had before people that are very capable, but we can see that strong material focus, it's no go for us. Because I mean, we will never be able to keep the pace. And so we focus on people that don't care about the salary so much. And we also have ESOP, of course, so because we are a startup, so we have the employee share option program. So those, especially those important hires, they will get some share options. And I think that this is one of the key aspects for them to kind of keep committed to the company, because they believe that it can bring them also financial benefits in the future. So I think ESOP is key in China. I think trying to avoid people that are too materially focused already during the interview process, and test on that in specific questions again. I think it's very important to really test for the culture fit, and test and have a specific questions that the interviewers will ask to test for that culture fit, and spend some time thinking about it, how to test for those specific values. How we train people, this is also very different, because we are startups, so everything is very fast paced, very fast. So the people need to learn on the job. One of the values that we hire for is the people need to be self-learners. We give them budgets to sign up for courses. We give them, they can reimburse, but we want them to learn themselves. So they have some very initial training, but the rest they need to learn themselves. And again, it's one of our core values, be a self-learner. We test for it during the interview process. So we ask them, hey, I mean, like, you are given this task that is very difficult and you have never done it. How are you going to deal with that? How are you going to do it if you don't know how? And we will have some specific set of questions how to test for that value. And we want to hire people that are comfortable with learning themselves. If I ask a person, what are you going to do in your first month in the job? And they tell me, oh, I want to learn, I want to do trainings. Then usually I will say no, because we want the people that have a bias for action. So they tell me, I come first month, I will do this, and this. I will and I want to see they already have idea what they want to do, and if they don't know how, they will learn themselves.
So for people who are thinking of entering into the China market, and they're looking at all the different possibilities there, what would you say are still some of the untapped opportunities that exist here in China?
It's a very difficult question, again, because the Chinese are very fast in spotting the new opportunities in the market. I think especially if you're looking for somebody who is not based in China long term, I think the opportunity for the future is tourism, travel. I'm big bull on travel. My wife also has a small business focused on destination wedding, which is very lucrative market where you can achieve high margins. I think that Chinese will more and more. I mean, the FIT market, the free individual travelers market, is growing. So it's now even in the main cities is the main way of travel is independently, and this is trend that will continue in China. So less travel groups, less of those non-spending travel groups, more independent travelers looking for experiences, looking for something unique, something that they can't find anywhere else. And I think this market will be booming. So I think huge opportunity for secondary travel destinations, for experiential travel. This is, I think, one of the main opportunities. So in Ireland, I think maybe people go to Dublin, but I mean, then there will be a lot of the secondary destinations that will be more and more discovered by the Chinese travelers, and offer something that is still kind of high-end experience, that is strongly related to that local culture and local heritage. I think it's something very interesting for the Chinese travelers.
And if you were to start from scratch here today, imagine you didn't have the experience or the guanxi, the network that you have here today, what advice would you have for yourself or someone in that position if they're thinking of starting in China in 2018?
I mean, again, this is a question that I think I need to take from the broader perspective. I mean, this is a question I would give myself before starting my business. I think the first thing, before starting your business, learn more about yourself. I mean, you need to really understand first, what is your personal mission, what do you want to achieve, what do you want to do with your life, because this is very important. The next thing is, what are your values? What are your principles of behavior? I was not clear about my principles back then, and I started company. How do you want to build a strong company culture if you don't have your own principle clear? Yeah, I mean, once you understand your principles, then you can require, and you can also project these principles of behavior that you believe are right thing to do. You can project it in your company culture. Because why? Because you as a founder, you are, your values and your behavior is the reflection. The company is reflection of yourself in the end of the day. So how you behave, what is your work attitude? What is your attitude towards transparency, honesty, about your work style? All these things will be projected in the company, and you need to be really clear about what are your values and what values you want to build as a part of the company culture. The next thing is the industry. Yeah. So the first is your personal mission and vision, then is your principles and values, and the next one is what industry you want to choose. Yeah? To be clear that the industry that you're passionate about, it definitely helps to get through that hard times, because every company will go through very hard times. Yeah? And you basically in company, you are there for two reasons. The one is money, and one is it's your passion, or it's something you really want to do. Like once, it will always happen that at some point maybe the money is not there. And then what you do then if there's no passion, then you will leave, because if the money is not there, why would you continue doing that? If there is the passion or the mission that you want to accomplish because it's the right thing to do, you will stay also through these difficult times when the financially it's not really paying off. And once I think you have the industry clear, I think it's time to also really get experience and understand the industry in depth. So I would even start myself to work in that industry that I want to do first, with some company where I can gain the experience and insights, because otherwise it's very easy to make a lot of false assumptions. So we also started the e-commerce fashion business, and we didn't have much knowledge about the industry back then. And it takes you I think as a rule of thumb, it takes you 2 years to understand the new industry very well. At least, it's like the minimum. 2 years of working in the industry to understand how the industry works. And you have two options. You can join somebody else to pay for those 2 years, or you can do it in your company and pay for it yourself, basically. So really make clear that you know the industry and you understand the industry very well. And then the last thing, once you know all these things, just find a business opportunity that really have some long-term competitive advantage. Or find a business where you have this advantage and you can protect this advantage in the long run.
If people want to find out more about what you do, they want to sort of check out your work, what's the best place online to find you or to reach out?
Everybody can search for my name, Lukas Hlavac, on LinkedIn. I'm connected there. I also read the messages, although not every day. And they can also search in Google or join. I have my personal website, which is www.lukashlavac.com.
Thank you very much, Lukas. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Thanks.